Yeah.
All right. So what's the next thing? It's gonna.
Okay. So here's a quote from the article here. This is really going to worry you, Dan. I feel it. This is the one.
Okay.
The buyers just keep marching into the jaws of destruction, Redfin's Glenn Kelman said in an interview on Closing Bell. I mean, that's an interesting, I just kind of want people to wonder, especially the ones in Clubhouse not being able to see the article currently. What in the world could we be talking about? Buyers marching into the jaws of destruction with no wherewithal of what they're doing.
No, you have no idea what you're doing. You're just going to buy a house that's going to collapse in 2 months.
The buyers themselves are driven by affordability, and the most affordable places in America are places that are of the most risk of being affected by climate change.
That's not true, though. I live in California where fires are all over the place.
No, they're going to be flooded by hurricanes. They're going to be affected by wildfires. And these are the cheap places, Dan, the ones right there on the coastline that the ocean can just swallow up.
Yeah, historically, coastal properties are always much cheaper. So
cheaper. The ones that are overlooking beautiful mountain passes with these forests that are just basically gigantic unlit fires under those houses, those are always the cheapest homes.
Yeah.
The buyer, sorry. If you look at where people are moving to, it's Florida in the Southeast.
Why did you say it like that? It's Florida.
Sorry. I feel like that's how he would say it. I don't have the audio quote, but I feel like it's Florida and the Southeast, which is especially flood prone and also has incredible heat risk temperatures. And they're also moving to places like Phoenix and Las Vegas and Utah, which what is in Utah?
I love that that's how he speaks. Phoenix and Vegas and Utah.
Disaster in Utah. Is Cindy still here? Cindy. Wait, I'm going to put her up here.
Yeah, Cindy sells Utah.
Cindy Ariana here. Silicon Slopes. I got an echo.
Yeah.
But we had an earthquake March 18th, 2020. So 3 days after the shutdown of COVID.
Wait, that's not climate change, though.
And it shook things up pretty good. We are on a major fault here in Utah, right through Salt Lake City.
So Salt Lake area for natural disasters is earthquakes. I don't know if you know this, Dan, but I am sitting right now in Tornado Alley and on the largest fault in the world, the New Madrid fault or New Madrid fault, however you want to say it. All the teachers at my school are calling it New Madrid. So the New Madrid fault line
is Madrid.
New Madrid. Oh, Cindy says Madrid. I think my teachers were saying Madrid. Anyway, that we're on one of the largest fault lines in the world right here in Arkansas.
I did not know that.
It's hard for me to imagine a place in the United States or world in which you would escape the impact of weather or climate change, however you. Can you think of a place that's impeccably safe? I can't.
Anywhere?
Yeah, I can't think of somewhere.
I can't. Australia is, but then they have like spiders that can eat your face.
In the U.S., we're talking about U.S. Utah's population grew more than 18% between 2010 and 2020, making it the fastest U.S. growing state. In that time period, according to the Census Bureau, Kelman pointed out that a recent Redfin analysis found that more than 1/3 of homes in Utah face what the company classifies as, quote, high fire risk.
The company classifies.
Well, the Redfin is the one crunching the data there. I think the idea is that climate change is going to be factored into how people think about housing, and it hasn't happened yet. The only people who figured out, oh, wow, look at what's happening to our StreamYard. Do you see this? Is that just me?
Just you.
Do y'all still see me?
Yep.
Huh.
And we hear you. What's happening?
It's like I am a big white box and you're a big pink box. Now I can't see what's happening.
We're good. I see everything. Do you guys see it okay?
Oh, now it just came back. That's really strange. All right, so I got to report that to StreamYard. Anyway,
super stoked it made me pink, by the way.
Yeah, I know, right? He said it. Sorry, guys, a little behind the scenes. Increasingly, it's going to be harder to get insurance, and it's going to be harder to get a loan for these properties because lenders are going to see the writing on the wall.
Wait. Now, I'm not saying climate change does or doesn't exist, but can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, Ron Bruno's here. Ron, I'm just giving you an alert. We're going to come to you in just a second because I want you to tell me about how lenders are looking at climate change currently. Go ahead, Dan.
I just want to know if Redfin or if insurance companies say that a flood is coming, you're in a high fire zone, what do they have to benefit from that?
No benefit. They have no benefit to write insurance in those areas, Dan.
Okay, so they're just impartial third parties that are saying, no.
Right.
This data suggests that this is a higher flood zone or area than others. So you would potentially have to pay more insurance if you wanted to move there.
But they're not going to be looking at Dan. I mean, I see what you're doing there. They're not going to be looking at climate change and saying, we're going to increase rates due to potential risk from, quote, climate change, unquote.
Okay.
And then you're not suggesting nefarious activity from an good old insurance company.
I actually am suggesting that. Now here though, climate change is kind of what's happening or the future. Like if we don't do this, this is going to happen, or this is happening, right?
Yeah. Or
but
and the other side of the coin is climate change is happening whether you drive an SUV or a Tesla.
Right.
But now continue.
But I'm saying though, like where I'm sitting currently in Southern California,
a Tesla.
I own a Tesla, but if everything is there, yeah. By the way, if all the electricity I need, by the way, increases temperatures. So anyway, but sorry. But it where I'm sitting, if wildfires, which we have fires, there's 3 or 4 of them around me now, but they're always kind of happening now. If there's no more or no less than any point in history, then why would my insurance go up? I'm just asking a question. I'm not inferring anything. I'm just asking a question. Historically, if the fires aren't going up, why would I look at possible data that may or may not happen to increase my rates when historically they're still the same?
Or to increase your cost of the loan acquisition.
Right.
All right,
why
Ron,
would that? I'm just asking a question. Why would that go up?
Ron, you're up. Is it getting more expensive somehow in places that have higher risk of natural disasters in order to get loans? Or is this something that you guys are starting to factor in? Or is this way in the future?
Okay, so the first thing that you said in this segment where you were talking about where it was becoming, homeowners are moving to places that are the lowest cost, but they have the largest natural disasters. The first thing that came to mind was, well, no, it's not the lowest because of the insurance side of it, right? So insurance thinks ahead because it directly affects their profitability. Lenders, we're a little bit more in the moment, right? So when we had Snowmageddon here in Dallas, Texas, and all of Texas for that matter, any loan that we had currently in place where we had people go out from an appraisal standpoint, we had to do a reinspection at all of those homes. And the reason why is because if pipes burst and that affects the overall viability of that particular property, we have to do a reinspection. Now, if the home, so that's what happens anytime there's a natural disaster. So anytime there's a hurricane, anytime there's fires, we always have to address it. And we're still addressing it in our comments when it comes to appraisals, where we have to actually have the appraiser comment that the home was not materially affected during Snowmageddon, right? So that's still happening, even though it's 100 degrees here. So that's just kind of one of the things from a natural disaster standpoint. Now, as far as future thinking, lenders, we typically fall back on whatever is happening with insurance. So if the home is located in a floodplain, we're going to require flood insurance, right? And there's also certain investors, they have different guidelines when it comes to addressing homes that are in a floodplain. And so it basically all starts from the insurance side and then it filters down. Lenders, they really haven't built in extra hits or anything on the loan side of it based on geography. We just have to comment on, has a natural disaster affected the marketability of this particular property? And also to make sure that the property has sufficient insurance coverage, whether it's in in a fire zone or in a flood zone or any of those items. So hopefully that's helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude, that's great. Thanks for joining. I can always count on Ron to have some good information and kind of know what's going on. So I appreciate that.
And I like the part about
Great.
insurance companies are looking more at the future because it affects their profitability, but lenders are more in the now. I like that.
Yeah. And what was that, Cindy? Go ahead.
What's happened here in Utah, speaking of, and I think it will affect a lot of the country in the fire areas. So we had a fire here last year, and FEMA now came in this spring and remapped the flood zone because of the burn scar. And so I was trying to get a buyer into a property here, and they had all kinds of rules and regulations of what could be done in remodeling with the basement and different things like that. So in that regard, that's what I'm seeing. And it caused the house to fall out of contract 4 times before it finally closed. Example.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's kind
so
of
good.
that's based on something that happened though.
Yeah. Something that's
Not-
actually happening. What
And
we're looking
so-
at is the future projection. And we kind of talked about this a little bit in the past when more third-party websites like realtor.com and a couple of others, I think Redfin, they were starting to put climate change risk information on listings. And we were really kind of questioning the data. You'd have to really find some agenda-free data to put that information on there.
Do you guys have we do it on every listing. We do an NHD, National Hazard Disclosure. Do you guys have that?
No.
It's part of our process. So it's an NHD report, National Hazard Disclosure Report. So that's part of what the buyer sees when they're buying a house. You get to look, you're in the flood zone, you're in this burn area, you're in this whatever. So
yeah. Well, we have flood zones and stuff here, but usually insurance says, hey,
it's all disclosed, and you have to get homeowners insurance before closing on the house. So it's going to take into account the roof, if there's a basement, what natural hazard zones it's in, all that. It's going to take all that into account, and that lets the buyer know, hey, this may or may not happen. And if you buy some of that extremely affordable oceanfront property, it may fall into the ocean.
Yeah.